The origin of Japan. The story of Japan is often told in fragments, through emperors, wars, and modern achievements. But those are not beginnings. They are outcomes. The true origin of Japan lies much deeper, in a time before the country had a name, before its people thought of themselves as one nation. This story is not about speed or conquest. It is about patience, about how land shapes people, and how people, over time, shape meaning. Japan did not appear suddenly on the world stage. It formed slowly, layer by layer, through survival, belief, and memory. For tens of thousands of years, people lived on these islands without writing their history down. Instead, they carried it in rituals, in seasonal habits, and in their respect for ancestors and nature. What endured was not power, but continuity. This account is not meant to glorify or simplify the past. It is meant to understand it as it was lived, uncertain, fragile, and deeply human. Chapter 1. Where does a nation truly begin? Japan's origin begins much earlier than any of those. It starts with geography. The Japanese islands sit along the edge of the Pacific Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates collide. This has produced earthquakes, volcanoes, and unstable coastlines for millions of years. The land itself has never been still, and that instability shaped human life from the very beginning. During the last ice age, sea levels were far lower than today. Japan was not fully separated from the Asian mainland. Land bridges connected parts of the archipelago to what is now Korea and Siberia. Through these routes, animals migrated, and humans followed. Archaeological evidence shows that people were living in Japan at least 35,000 years ago. These early inhabitants were hunter-gatherers. They lived in small groups, moving according to seasons and available resources. They used stone tools, controlled fire, and relied on detailed environmental knowledge. There was no agriculture, no writing, and no political structure beyond the group. Life was shaped by uncertainty. Harsh winters in the north, typhoons in the south, and frequent natural disasters meant long-term security was never guaranteed. This discouraged large permanent settlements early on and reinforced the need for adaptability. Nature could not be controlled, only understood and respected. These people did not think of themselves as Japanese. There was no shared identity beyond family and community. Yet their presence marked the first continuous human relationship with the land that would later become Japan. The origin of Japan, then, is not a founding event. It is the people of Japan. Around 14,000 BCE, a distinct culture emerged across the Japanese islands. Today, historians call them the Jomon people, named after the cord-marked patterns on their pottery. This pottery is among the oldest ever discovered, predating farming societies in many other parts of the world. The Jomon were hunter-gatherers, but they were not nomadic in the way people often imagine. Japan's forests, rivers, and seas were rich enough to support long-term settlements. Jomon communities lived in pit dwellings, stored food, and remained in the same locations for generations. This stability allowed knowledge to accumulate over time. They hunted deer and wild boar, fished extensively, and gathered nuts, roots, and plants. Some of these foods were toxic if eaten raw, so the Jomon developed careful processing techniques. This required planning, memory, and teaching. Survival depended on experience passed from elders to the young. Their tools were made from stone, bone, antler, and wood. While simple in appearance, these tools were highly specialized. Fishing hooks, arrowheads, and grinding stones show a deep understanding of the environment. The Jomon worldview was shaped by nature. There is no evidence of centralized religion, but archaeological remains suggest strong spiritual beliefs. Clay figurines known as dogu appear across Japan. Their purpose is unclear, but they are widely believed to be linked to ritual practices involving fertility, protection, or healing. The Jomon period lasted for over 10,000 years. That longevity alone tells us something important. These people were not merely surviving. They had found a way to live sustainably within the limits of their land. Long before Japan became a country, it was already a place with memory, tradition, and belief. Chapter 3. Why did Japan change so suddenly? Around 900 BCE, the Japanese islands experienced a major shift caused by new arrivals from the Asian mainland. These migrants introduced technologies that transformed daily life. This period is known as the Yayoi period, named after an archaeological site in modern Tokyo. The most important change was the introduction of wet rice agriculture. Rice farming required cleared land, irrigation systems, and coordinated labor. Unlike hunting and gathering, rice cultivation tied people to specific locations. Fields had to be maintained year after year. Storage became essential, control of land became power. With agriculture came population growth. Villages expanded, and food surplus allowed some families to accumulate more resources than others. Social differences began to appear. Archaeological evidence from Yayoi sites shows defensive ditches, weapons, and fortified settlements. Conflict increased as groups competed over fertile land and water access. The Yayoi also introduced bronze and iron tools, which improved farming efficiency and weapon production. These tools strengthened leaders who could organize labor and defend territory. Authority became more centralized, shifting away from purely communal decision-making. The earlier Jomon population did not disappear. In many regions, they mixed with Yayoi settlers. Cultural practices blended, and genetic studies show that modern Japanese people descend from both groups. In northern Japan and among the Ainu, Jomon ancestry remained especially